Why don't you have a seat right over here for me?
The Fakertarians, John Hudak and company, absolutely are entirely scum.
I don't trust these motherfuckers at all, and they're absolute fucking scumbags.
Good night, Moon. Good night, Moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon.
It sucks, okay? Because Hudak has become like this annoying fucking bugaboo in the movement, right? Mm-hmm. But I have a soft spot for John Hudak. Like, honest to God, I do, right? Like,
a little bit of context is important. If you don't know who John Hudak is, if you don't know who Fakertarians are and what they are about, it helps in this context, because these are the people who have been going after Tom Woods for years, specifically to discredit him.
I know some good games we could play, said the cat. I know some new tricks, said the cat in the hat. A lot of good tricks. I will show them to you. Uh-oh. Your mother will not mind at all if I do.
Uh-oh. Me and that guy will exchange words when the time comes, because I think we need to talk about that in person and certainly hash that out.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fakertarians podcast. I'm your host, John Hudak, along with Archie Flower and our tech guy. We do not have Jeremy here today. But we do have for you today, Jonathan Casey, the outgoing chair of the Classical Liberal Caucus. How are you doing today, Jonathan?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me.
All right, exactly. So there's been a lot going on the past few weeks, and we're going to touch on.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. There was. I'm talking about those new chapters to Michael Rechtenwald's new book or journal or whatever the hell it is.
We need to discuss
riveting
these,
stuff.
What he can add and to his long and storied career of book selling, because I think that's what this chapter is going to be about. Is about book selling. How he really wasn't going for votes; he was going for selling books.
Well, I know Heiss wanted to make a media company or something like that out of this, but that didn't turn out so well.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. They've kind of put themselves in this idea that they have this grand strategy of getting Trump elected because he's now given them some kind of, quote unquote concessions, which I love that their whole strategy boils down to, let's believe Republican politicians. But besides that, exactly. Well, so hang on. You're telling me that we're going to use the threat of getting votes to say, okay, we're not going to vote for you unless you give us these concessions. And then they're going to put a candidate out who says, oh, I don't care about votes. I'm not really here for votes. I can't win anyway, so I'm just here to talk and sell books and do this. It's like, wait a second. You realize that if you don't get the votes this election, that they're not going to believe you in 4 more years, and you're not going to be able to make that deal ever again because, well, you've wasted all your capital on it. So the best case scenario is that the strategy could only work once every 8 years. And here's the thing. Once Trump actually got into office, would he be able to actually, would he actually give a shit? No, he's not going to run again in 4 more years, right? So he's done for. He doesn't need our votes anymore. Anyways, that's a whole other rant.
And we'll get into that.
It's wild to me how many people believe it and watch it, but oh well, it is what it is. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I think is what they say. I can only throw bombs from the sidelines now.
Exactly. So what we're actually going to talk about today, we're going to start with the Libertarian National Convention.
Oh, so, that's why you had me on. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's going to be our main thing. I think we can talk about some other stuff, our favorite Michael Rechtenwald book, our favorite Tom Wood ebook, and favorite Tom Wood's math lesson.
Someone needs to come out with POTUS gummies or something, right? Just to have some labeled, labeled gummies. But exactly. Yeah, I don't know whether the party was saved by some gummies or I'm really kind of still wrapping my head around all that happened that weekend. And frankly, all that's happened since with, states saying they're not going to have them on the ballot. But yeah, the convention was a hell of a ride if you were paying attention. Did you watch most of the convention online?
I did watch a decent amount of it. I was at work on Friday, so I was just kind of listening. And then Saturday and Sunday, well, especially Sunday, I watched most of it. But let's start at the start of the convention. So going into this convention, were you hopeful? Did you think we were pretty much
I knew
screwed,
the numbers,
or what?
I think I don't remember if I shared them with you, but I had numbers going into there that I was thinking we had 40% hardcore Mises, 40% hardcore non-Mises, and about 20% we just didn't know. And that's really what it boiled down to. It was probably skewed more towards the Mises caucus than I was actually expecting. But I think it, you always look at the numbers. You're relying on people saying, oh, that person's with them, that person's not with them. So you're always relying on secondhand information, almost always. I was pretty well, connected with multiple campaigns that were also telling me this, their feel on who their delegates were and how many delegates they thought they had or didn't have. So I knew that Rechtenwald would not have anywhere close to 50% at the beginning. Like I knew that they were not going to. He was not going to get even close to 50%, at least in the first couple of rounds. It was all about how it was going to divvy up after that. Leading into the convention, though, the real talk and chatter was you have the Michigan situation where the LNCs basically sided with the Mises Caucus affiliate there and said, we're only going to recognize Mises Caucus people from Michigan. Fuck off everybody else. And you have Karen Ann Harlos and Adrian Malagon jumping onto the Credentials Committee to keep it rigged that way. And you have a judge stepping in. So that's right. They submitted the correctly elected delegates from Michigan that were elected at the Mises Caucus convention. They were submitted to the Credentials Committee. But then the Mises Caucus did some shenanigans and pulled those people off and said, nope, we're not letting these people go. They appealed to their JC. Well, the Michigan non-Mises people go to the judge and say, what the hell? This ain't right. And the judge goes, you're right. These people are a bunch of idiots. I need to know the exact quote, but I love the quote where the judge just basically gives the Mises Caucus a middle finger and said, the JC a middle
said
finger.
that it didn't make any sense, basically.
You have absolutely no authority to do this. And so this right here, I think, was really, that judgment was actually a turning point in the psychology of the Mises Caucus, because what it told them was that they were being fed a load of bullshit from their leaders about the whole situation in Michigan, right? That you had Karen Ann Harlos lying through her teeth. You had Adrian Malagon jumping on, all trying to rig it so that they could keep voters who weren't going to vote for them out, right? So I think that really woke a lot of people up. And I heard a lot of Mises people talk about how the Credentials Committee shenanigans, they completely lost faith in Karen Ann Harlos. And that tells me right there that there was a signal in their brain that goes, oh, we've been lied to this whole time about Michigan. And so I think that started to wake people up. And then the evidence for why that switch happened was on Friday. So on Friday, they scheduled like 10 minutes for approving the credentials. And we were looking at it going, that's going to take all day because you're going to have this whole drag out fight. So we go into convention. Oh, and here's the other thing. Not only were they keeping out the Michigan delegation, they were also completely out of the blue bullshit nonsense coming from Karen Ann Harlos about that she was going to keep out the Oklahoma delegates that they added from out of state. They were going to keep out the Washington delegate. And again, these are all our people. These are all our people coming in. So they know what they're doing. They know they're intentionally doing it. So we talked with we hired a parliamentarian who's like, listen, get your JCs to rule on it, get your executive committees to rule on these things. And so both Washington and Oklahoma went in fully loaded saying our executive committee says this is how we interpret our bylaws. We are in compliance with it. And our JC committee says we are in compliance with our bylaws. We're good to go. And the Credentials Committee of National, because of Karen Ann Harlow's bullshit, says nope, we're not going to do it anymore. Nope, we're not going to allow states to determine their own rules anymore, which has been the standard practice, and that's right. That is how the LP has operated for 40 years now, 50 years. So you have all these shenanigans going into it, and and I think again, like with Michigan, they way overplayed their hand, and people saw through the bullshit. They way overplayed their hand. So we go into Friday, and Friday we actually have the numbers on the delegation floor. Like we knew that
it sounded like it, at least from what I was seeing on the YouTube stream.
Yes, and we had our parliamentarian there who was fucking awesome. If anybody needs a recommendation for parliamentarian, please reach out to me. We need him to look over all the bylaws. Anyways, so I was talking with him. I was like, are you hearing what I'm hearing? Because I don't know if I'm being biased. I don't know if I'm just hearing what I want to hear. I'm like, do we have the room? He's like, oh yeah, we have the room. And so we get through the first vote. We deal with the Michigan situation. We override the ruling of the chair, which there were some backroom talks going between some different camps, and that was one that was going to be given to us as long as we allowed her agenda to pass, which the agenda was to allow the presidential nomination to happen before Saturday evening, right? And that was something we were kind of willing to give up, and that was fine. Whatever, it was going to make the best situation out of the Trump speech. Whatever, we were gonna go roll with that. So we were okay giving that up, but that was going to allow us to get the Michigan delegation seated with 50% plus one, instead of going to 2/3 to suspend the bylaws, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So we were okay with that, and that's how the chair ruled. And so again, a lot of people, people were wanting to remove her as chair. I'm like, guys, she's not actually harming us. She's not actually getting in our way. So don't remove her. Like, if she does, I sit this out several times during the week. And it's like, guys, I know you want to remove Angela's chair. I want to remove Angela's chair, but we can't make that move unless she's actively impeding the process of business. And she wasn't. She didn't. Until after Friday lunch. We'll get to that in a second. So we get through Michigan. We we overrule the chair, get Michigan seated. Boom. Now we have all those votes ready to vote for us for Washington. So Washington, boom, we get seated. And then we have the Oklahoma people, boom, get seated. So all through that morning, and we got everything we wanted in that morning. So next will come the agenda, right? And this is why I was uncomfortable with making this kind of not handshake deal, but just kind of okay, we'll give you this agenda if we got it, because the agenda, to approve the agenda, comes after all the credentialing stuff. So I knew that they had to fulfill their promise on that first. Now, so we get to we break for lunch, and then we come back to lunch, and Angela comes up there, and I think she's throwing a bomb into everything to nuke everything. And she talks about how, right, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, okay, we've been had, they're going to do this. All right, now, if they continue with this, we'll just fuck the whole weekend over, right? Like, that was my thinking. We're not going to give them the agenda. We're not going to do this, whatever. But what ended up happening is, so again, some back channels, not with Angela. I don't know why she decided that she was going to rule differently than she did in the morning, but she did. And this is honestly the moment that Ken Mollman decided that he was going to run, because he saw that she was full of bullshit. She was going back on the way she had ruled in the morning. Hours later, she decides, I'm going to rule differently now. Now we're going to go back and do this whole business that we've already done before, which is complete horseshit.
I was wondering if it was pressure from Heist or something.
It was absolutely Heist and JJ getting in her ear and telling her, no, you can't do this. We have to go back and do this. Now, the official line to the Mises Caucus, and I get that some of them believe this. I do not believe this whatsoever. But the official line that they're going to tell you is that if we don't follow our bylaws, we'll get kicked off the ballot in some states. It's complete bullshit. Republicans and Democrats break their bylaws constantly. In fact, Republicans, I think it was Republicans, were literally, or it was Democrats. No, it was Democrats. They can literally completely ignore their bylaws to put a candidate on the ballot, and they will not get kicked off. Like, this is established case law. This has already been dealt with in courts. No, these are private organizations that have internal processes. Now, you can sue back and forth for the, violations of those internal processes, but the government's not going to kick you off the ballot because you didn't follow an internal process. That's not how it works. As long as you've done all your paperwork to the state and followed all of their rules, you're good to go, right? So as long as you follow the rules of the state, you're not getting kicked off the ballot unless they come up with something else, which we've seen plenty of times. But it's not because of bylaws violations. There's never been a case. Never. I looked up the case law. I looked it up because I was concerned about it myself at first, until I realized it's nonsense. Nobody has ever been kicked off the ballot because they didn't follow internal bylaws. Now they've gotten kicked off the ballot because those bylaws didn't comply with state law, but that's because they didn't comply with state law, not because of the bylaws. Anyways, so we go back over this whole thing, and I get here this back channel that there was a proposal to get rid of the Michigan delegation, but then there was a second proposal that was to suspend the rules, allow them to be seated, and then move forward with it. It was a combined motion, and I thought it was a trap. I really did. But I got back channeled and told, nope, Mises is supporting this. We're good to go. I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell my people to vote on it. If this doesn't pass, because what happens is if this doesn't pass, what that does is it means that those people are technically unseated. So it basically would have undone a lot of what we'd done in the morning. Oh wait, no, it's only for the Michigan it's the Oklahoma and Washington delegates. So again, I wasn't quite as worried about it because it wasn't about Michigan, because Michigan had a lot more people. But yeah, so basically they came back and the Mises Caucus said, we will vote on this two-part thing where we suspend the rules and for this convention, we allow those delegates to be seated by the method that we did this morning. Okay, I'll tell people to vote for it. We voted, passed, 2/3 passed, done, boom, moved on. I was worried about that because I thought I was telling people to vote for something that would just backfire. Thankfully, it didn't happen. And then it comes up to the agenda, right? So now we've got the agenda, and we have an agenda set up, but we have it set up very specifically because we did not want. The main thing we were worried about is not getting anything shoved to Monday, because if you get shoved to Monday, it goes to the LNC region reps. And well, they have a lot of the region reps, so they would have been able to do whatever they want, nominate whoever they want. So that was our main concern. But we especially didn't want the officers' elections to get pushed past bylaws and platform. Oh, that reminds me. The other thing was we did not want bylaws and platform. That was like, I would say the priority list was one, making sure we got the POTUS VP POTUS nomination. That was priority 1. Priority 2, officers. Priority 3, at large. 4, man, it's really tough between at large and platform. I didn't want them fucking with the platform, right? That was a pretty big thing. So we got our agenda passed, and the way it got passed was kind of funny. And we totally didn't plan it this way, but it worked out perfectly to where I don't even think the Mises Caucus realized that we had done it. But basically, somebody made a motion. It was actually Bill Redpath, who I didn't know he was going to make this. I talk with Bill all the time, but I didn't know he was going to make this motion to make the motion that the presidential presidential debate would happen at 9 in the next morning. And so what we did is we added an amendment to that with our agenda. It just put it on there, and it got the agenda added onto that. And then everybody voted for it, probably thinking that they were just voting on allowing our POTUS debate to happen on Saturday morning. But it ended up getting passed. So we had our agenda set. That was a huge victory because, again, I was fine with the POTUS nomination happening before on Saturday, so that it would be there for Trump after Trump. I was like, okay, if Trump's going to speak, let's have our POTUS nominee be up there and speak. Moving on. So we get through that done, and it is late in the afternoon, and we had an internal discussion, and I think I fucked up on this. We had an internal discussion about going ahead and trying to move the chair, because the next thing on the agenda was the chair nominations and elections. And so I thought, okay, well, so the chair's debate was going to be that night, and it was only about 45 minutes to the time that the chair's debate was going to happen. I was like, you know what? I know we've got the room. I don't want to push it though, because if we tried to push it up, well, the debate's coming up in 45 minutes. It would be like, it felt kind of like I didn't want to lose the room. I didn't want to lose the momentum we had, because we got everything we wanted in the first day. So I was like, okay, I made the call. Let's shut it down here. Let's move on. Let's recess. Let's go. They'll have the chair's debate after the POTUS debate. After the POTUS nomination, we'll have, or POTUS debate. We'll have the chair's election. We'll have the chair election right after that, because that's the next thing on the agenda, right? And we wanted to make sure that we wanted the chair's election before the POTUS debate, so we get a really good read on the room, and B, make sure that it couldn't get pushed off later in the day and get pushed way out, right? So I was like, okay, fine. Well, what ends up happening is they don't have a chair's debate. They just decide not to do it. Apparently, like, nobody showed, like, we did the chair's nominations Friday night, and then they were supposed to have the debate, and they just decided not to do it at all. And so, like, I'm like, well, that kind of fucks us, because now we're supposed to have the POTUS debate, and then we're supposed to have the chair's debate, and then we'll have the chair's election. Well, we're not going to have time for the presidential nomination. Now, it ended up working out well, because it ended up being a good thing that POTUS elections weren't on Saturday, because I think they probably had the room most of Saturday.
What do you think happened there, where you guys had the room on Friday, and then on Saturday somehow
they had people coming in? So, I know exactly what happened. They saw who was voting the way they didn't want, and they replaced them with alternates that would vote the way they did. That is exactly. Yeah, it's perfectly legal. Okay. Well, it depends on state. Like, I don't know. It depends. I don't know the internal bylaws and workings on how if a delegate chair can simply say, no, you're not seated today, we're giving this to somebody else. I don't know if that's just peer pressure. I don't know if that's in the bylaws that a delegate chair can simply unseat a delegate. I don't think that's the case. But again, you're probably talking about people who've many of them have never been to a national convention. They probably don't know. They probably just think, oh, my seat's taken. Okay. Or, so they switched out. We had a lot of Mises people who were not hardcore Mises on Friday, and that's why we had the room. And so they saw that and they yanked a lot of people and pulled them out and said, no, we're getting in hardcore delegates that'll vote the way we want. Is what it is. We can't prove it. We don't know. We don't have facial recognition to know exactly who's sitting where. And they were being secretive about the votes. They were being secretive about everything because that's who they are. So it's one of those things we can't control it. So we moved on. I did have people watching specific delegations to kind of count heads and see how many votes were being turned in, just as precautions. We didn't really see much in that way, though. You always hear rumors about things, and so I'm like, okay, hey, you're an alternate, you're not seated. Can you go watch this? Count how many delegates that how many people voted, and then we'll count on the screen how many people they say voted. And we didn't see any discrepancies there, so that was good. So that I think that is really what turned the tide for them on Friday or on Saturday. And so Saturday. Let's see. The Friday night they just didn't have it. Oh, so I had a family something come up for family. So I'm not even in DC on Friday. I am at home at this very desk, like just going between screens, having the live stream up, looking at things, talking to people, communicating between everyone. So I fly in Friday morning, and get there right in the middle of the POTUS debate, and it ended up being perfect because I needed to be there. So I get in and I'm kind of setting up, and I'm watching the procedure. So we have the POTUS debate, we have the chairs debate, and then we have the chair election. And all of that really just drags out on Saturday. Do I realize, first of all, no POTUS candidate is going to get nominated on first ballot. So even if we start on the POTUS nominations and POTUS elections, it's not going to get finished until late at night, like period. So it's kind of out of the question at this point. So they end up having a poll on Saturday night. They end up having a poll to see who would speak after Trump. Well, Chase Oliver wins the poll, right? And there's suddenly an error in the system. And they decide, well, since there's an error in the system, we'll have the top three candidates speak. Top three candidates in that poll. And I think this poll was I don't think it was just of delegates. I believe it was of the internet. So,
yeah, no, I saw it going around. I think
it was? Okay. See, I was there, so I don't know what was floating around outside there. So they have this poll, and of course Chase Oliver wins. Well, they're like, oh, well, we're just going to have that's right. And Angela McArdle doesn't get elected on the first ballot. It goes to the second ballot, and then she gets elected. And so at that point, we realized we have the room. So at that point, I'm like, okay, no, let's, and we ended up not having to do really anything to delay it because it was already being delayed on its own. So we really didn't do any shenanigans that anybody can accuse us of on Saturday because the time was being run. The clock was running out regardless of it. So at that point, they had their little poll, Chase Oliver. So the top three, Chase Oliver, Mike Tremont, and Rechtenwald are the top three. Well, as we all know, Rechtenwald doesn't realize it. Hears that he lost to Chase, and so he thinks he's done for the night, which might have been what saved the party of all weird things. The great irony of them doing whatever it was they did to get him on the stage ended up fucking him completely because he does gummies, or was it mushrooms? I heard it was mushrooms. I think it was. So
I've heard mushrooms. He said it was gummies, but
that's the easy answer, right? That's the easy answer. That's that's what you tell your mom.
Yeah, exactly. But the weird thing with that is, I know the whole story is that
he didn't look. He didn't look like he was on marijuana.
But but I know the whole story is that it was just his post-Trump speech demeanor that was weird. But I don't know if you saw any of his. So he spoke as an intro speaker.
That's right.
For Trump.
That's right. And fun fact about that. A speaker at the national convention is required to sign a document that says they will not run for POTUS. Now, several campaigns asked our parliamentarian about it, and he said, "Well, what your problem is on Angela McArdle not requiring them to sign it, because obviously the candidate is not going to sign that, right? So Angela McArdle's breaking the rules left and right about not requiring speakers to actually sign the document or whatever." And of course, the other argument is that it wasn't a speaker at the actual convention; it was a speaker at a non-business event, right? So, there's that. But anyways, breaking the spirit of the law, if nothing else. So, so Angela gets reelected. Yeah, we move on to that night. Yeah, Rechtenwald does his gummies, shrimps, whatever it is.
But even
that's his whole thing. I did not want to go to the Trump campaign thing. I don't give a fuck about Trump. I don't want to deal with him. I honestly thought it'd be I didn't realize that we were going to show up and actually boo him out, which was awesome. But I didn't want to go see Trump. I have no shit. So I went out to dinner with some people and heard about it. And then I get a call at 10:30 at night. And then because, well, first of all, people think it was a weird call. I'll explain this weird call. This is some of my things I'd hear. We can remove Angela's chair if we just do this simple legal trick, right? Guys, hang on. I have an actual, we paid $8,000 for a parliamentarian to come in. Let's listen to him first. But I got a call at 10:30 at night. And then I am on a call. I am literally on a call until around 2 o'clock that night on different calls trying to figure out what's going on. Because, well, Rechtenwald's, did his whole thing. So I'm trying to figure out and communicating with all the campaigns about what's going on. So I don't get any sleep that night. And of course, the whole Trump thing actually ended up working out okay because people didn't obey Dave Smith and Scott Horton about respecting him. They just booed
be
him
nice to
all the
war
time.
criminals.
Exactly. What is it, Captain Lockdown? We're going to be nice to him, right?
Because Dave always
ridiculous.
says that he thinks Trump should be in prison, and then he's like,
right,
be nice to him. Be polite.
Yeah, be polite. He'll listen to us, guys. No, a speaker is not there to listen to the crowd, especially Donald Trump. The guy isn't even he's a narcissistic lunatic. Anyways, so I'm up really late, and then we so Sunday comes around, and we have got on the first thing on the docket is the POTUS nominations. Now, one quick story. So Friday, our floor game, we were literally at the mic. We had basically, if not all the mics, we had at least 2 or 3 of them covered at every time to have somebody ready to go. And we literally were throwing things out there. They didn't know it hit them. I heard one person tell me that Michael Heiss was yelling at somebody on the phone saying, "You didn't do your job," or something like that, which always makes me happy. But on Saturday, they were on the mics, and one of my guys got physically pushed off of the mic. He came over to me, he's disheveled, and this is somebody who's not going to make stuff up. He's a well-established, older guy, and he comes over to me. It's they just pushed me off the mic. And so it's oh gosh, okay. So that's how this day is going. So that's Saturday for you, right? And that day they were ganging up on the mics. They had people groups of people around each mic. And thankfully my guys were didn't care. They were there. They knew that they had what they were able to yell out. They were there when they needed to be. But it was a whole different game than what it was on Friday, right? And so Sunday started out that same way, where they were controlling the mics, right? They were going to be at the mics. They had groups around every mic. So it was a lot. It wasn't quite as the free reign that we had on Friday, because I don't think they expected us on Friday. They didn't have people at the mics. They didn't even propose. I don't even think they made many motions at all. And that was surprising to me. I expected. I think so. I think they were just overconfident, and they didn't expect anybody to come in with a plan like we did. We had a plan, and literally everything on Friday went exactly according to plan, except for the after lunch shenanigans that they tried to pull. So that one really. But on Saturday they were ready, and Sunday they were ready as well. So we get into the POTUS nomination process. I'm trying to remember what else was going on Saturday. We had so obviously Angela McArdle won the previous day, and so here's my situation on going into Sunday. We had half of my LNC candidates decided they weren't going to run because they didn't want to serve with Angela McArdle, and I can't really blame them. But I have no one to run for the LNC at large. I have a couple, but I was they're dropping like flies, and so we ended up rearranging things, and it ended up being pretty damn close on some. We did get the vice chair. We got the vice chair position. I think that was a good move. We came 6 votes away or whatever it was from getting rid of Karen and Harlos. That was a big one. Obviously, we wouldn't have gotten rid of her. She would have jumped down to at large and snaked her way onto it as she does.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the whole Sunday's the one that I'm trying to remember the whole timeline, because I don't remember when we started the POTUS nominations. Was it in the morning or was it afternoon? What happened in the morning on Sunday? I'm trying to remember, because we had, maybe someone in the chat will remind us, but I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the timeline there.
Let me think here. I remember the nomination speeches being in the morning because I remember the thing with Angela and RFK where she's on the phone with him for like a really long time.
And then she's like
an hour. Get back to us.
Right. And then we had the nominating speeches. We had acceptance speeches. That's right. And that took like all morning, right? So I think that's what took up the morning. That's why I don't remember it because I wasn't paying attention to it. Okay, that makes sense. And then so we get into the POTUS nomination. First ballot comes around, and it's Rechtenwald with 33%, Chase with 24 or something, and so on and so forth. And I'm looking at going, where's the votes? I mean, honestly, my biggest priority was
I didn't know.
Yeah, I was looking at it going, how, like, I didn't think that Chase would be able to pull enough from Mike Tremont because that's what I was looking at. But Tremont voters were going to be the wild card on really swaying it one way or the other, right? So that's the voters I was looking at. And I was talking with the Lars campaign. The Lars campaign eventually, drops off pretty early. Then they had and then somewhere in there, we get down to, there's like 3 or 4 rounds where you just the bottom just slowly dropping off, and you start to see the vote totals. The more I'm looking at it, the more I'm going, I don't think the votes are there to beat Rechtenwald unless a deal is made. Like, and especially once Lars dropped off, and most of them, not a single one of his voters, by the way, went to Rechtenwald, which I think is an interesting thought. They mostly went to Chase, and I think 2/3 to Chase, 1/3 to Tremont. But it's really interesting because they have, like, at this point, and people talk about Tremont had some deal with the Rechtenwald camp. No, they didn't. They didn't. That's bullshit. That's complete horseshit. Like, his campaign managers already come out and debunked it. But I didn't say, if there had been a deal, I would have known about it. Like, I have a pretty close relationship with a lot of these people and a lot of these campaigns. They did not have a deal. I would have known about the deal. And I think it's very, very fucking clear from Mike Tremont's accepting Chase's VP spot from his speech. When you hear him talk about how the Mises Caucus is split away from the direction that it was intended to originally going in, that there was no way Mike Tremont was going to get on Rechtenwald's campaign. I think that is a hard fact. And listen, I know Mike Tremont personally. He is an upstanding person. I disagree with him on a few things, like playing a little too nice, in my opinion, with the Mises Caucus. You know what? He's still an honest person, and I trust Mike Tremont a lot more than the people who are trying to slander him. So we get down, especially once Larstedt drops off, and I'm talking with all the campaigns about, like, okay, like, you guys talking with each other, like, what's going on here? What's the communication? What's going back and forth? And one campaign saying, no, you drop out and endorse us. No, you drop out and endorse us, and that kind of that back and forth. And fun fact, in the middle of all of this, before Lars gets knocked off, Heiss and Rechtenwald go into Lars's suite for like 10 or 15 minutes and have a conversation, and nothing is decided there, apparently. Apparently they called for the meeting and then just like, yeah, I don't know why we're here. They left. So I don't know if they thought, okay, Lars is where we're going to get our voters from, because funny enough, like I said, he didn't get any voters from him. So I don't know what the story is there. I don't know why that meeting was called, but apparently Heiss thought that.
Might have just been desperation.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't really know. And then, so we're getting down to it. The last three are, Rechtenwald's at the top, Chase Oliver, then Mike Tremont. And at this point, I realized, like, I don't think Chase, if Mike Tremont just drops out, I don't know that Chase has those votes, because he was going to need, by my calculation, he was going to need like 55, 60% of Mike Tremont's votes to stay ahead of Rechtenwald. And I wasn't sure that I didn't know if he had those numbers. So I'm running around, and if anybody was at the convention floor, I probably looked like I was insane. But I'm running around, I'm yelling at not yelling, but I'm forcefully indicating to Steve Dosbach, my indicator, like, get a deal done with Mike Tremont. Get a deal done. You don't have the votes unless you do. And I'm yelling, I'm telling to Chase, I'm talking to Mike Tremont, like, let's get something done here. We can't let Rechtenwald be the nominee. That would be a decades-long, recovery process from that shit show that it would have been. So anyways, that's the moment. I forget if it's before the round that Mike Tremont read down. I think it is. that's the moment where I tweet out, and I actually screenshot it. It's funny because they think they're holding it against me, but I'll show
stalling,
it here.
yeah.
The stall one, which I love it because it's funny is I was actually showing that to people who were like, all right, this is the moment where we needed to stall because we didn't have a deal. There's no deal done. And that's why one of the reasons why I know Mike Tremont didn't have a deal, because there was no deal done at that point. And that's why I wanted there to have time for these communications to happen, to these campaigns to talk to each other and to discuss what could go down. And all in the middle of this, we have officer elections for we have the LNC officer elections. We have vice chair, treasurer, and secretary. And we won the secretary and treasurer spots, not secretary, the treasurer and vice chair spot. And Karen Ann Hollis we barely lost that one hurts because she's such a massive cancer, on the board. Anybody, like even the people, like I hear some people get mad at me for saying that. I'm like, guys, you realize that your own niece's board calls her that behind her back. Like that's what they do. Like, so don't be mad at me.
Talk to her all the time.
Right. Yeah. Oh, they really don't like working with her. They hate her. They really do. And it's kind of sad that she thinks they're on her side when if they would dump her in a heartbeat. I feel like I should probably feel bad for her, but I kind of do. Like, you don't actually have any friends. It's kind of sad. But that's a whole other thing. So, now that's going down. Yeah, we have so that's all going down in between all of these rounds. I forget the exact timeline. It was a crazy night. But yeah, so that's when my famous tweet, my infamous stall, fuck shit up tweet. Oh, so I typed that out, hit enter, and like book it because I'm going to yell at people to get a deal done. Right? That's literally what it is. And I don't even think I sent another message for the rest of the night because I'm like running around telling people get something done. We have to save the party somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was funny because then so then that vote comes out and I don't think a deal is done. I actually don't know about a deal at all. So I'm going into that second to last vote when Mike Tremont comes up to the mic, and I'm like, well, I don't think he would do a deal with Mechtenwald, but I don't know that he wouldn't do a deal with Mechtenwald.
I saw something that someone was saying that he was like huddled with Dave Smith and Rechtenwald and Heiss, and I was like, shit.
Well, again, knowing who Mike is, he's going to tell people what he's going to do. Like, he's not going to shy away from the fact that, hey, guys, I completely disagree with you. I'm moving on. He's not going to just go up to the mic and surprise everybody with it, right? He's going to do the honorable thing and say, hey, guys, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking. So, yeah, that was I was in the room when it happened. I didn't see that meeting take place because I had to kind of run. Our parliamentarian was set up at the back, and I was mostly sitting with him, but I'd run down to the Texas delegation to vote with them and then run back up. So when Mike Tremont, I was in the middle of voting. I just gotten my voting card, and I was sitting with somebody who was a Mike Tremont voter. He was like, I don't know who to vote for. And then Mike Tremont starts speaking and says, I am accepted a vice president position on the Chase Oliver campaign. And he does the whole spiel about how the Mises Caucus has gone off the rails and lost its vision, right? And my friend, who's a Mike Tremont voter, says, well, I know who I'm voting for now. And he votes for Chase. And so, like, that's a little bit of an anecdotal story, but I do think that helped. It was close. And then Chase, I think, had him by 40-something votes.
Yeah.
But he was
I want to remind everyone of what happened right after that because I have the clip queued up.
Oh, no.
So I'm just gonna play that real quick. Yeah. Right after Mike Tremont was at the mic. This is my favorite moment of the convention. Well, besides Chase winning, this is my favorite moment of the convention. Let me see.
All right, let me get that up for you.
Oh, yes. I missed this.
Tremont. The Mises Caucus has also offered Mike Tremont the vice presidential position.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Heiss.
So I was out of the room at this because, again, I'm running back and forth and trying to, like, find people and, like, yeah, whatever. So what's funny about this, I guarantee you they would have sold out Mike Tremont and put in Clint What's-His-Face. I guarantee you that they would have said, vote for Mike Tremont, but they would have actually been like, no, vote for Clint.
Yeah,
like, I guarantee you that they would have thrown Mike Tremont out and put in Clint instead of for VP. That is almost a certainty in my mind. Like, yeah. And what's funny about that is they could have had a win. The Mises Caucus could have had a win if they decided to back Mike Trevott at the end, but they decided to have a complete loss as far as the POTUS campaign is done because they tried to go against Mike Trevott. And yeah, so that was kind of
well, it was funny when they had Dave Smith get up there to give Clint Russell's nomination speech and talked about like a unity ticket and stuff like that. It's like really, guys, you guys are talking about a unity ticket, Dave? Like Dave Smith, he was all about unity.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, can you imagine what let's talk for a second about what a shit show a Chase Clint campaign would have looked like. Because the guy. Did
you see the video tweet?
I didn't even watch the video. Fuck that guy.
I haven't watched it either.
No. I don't.
Yeah, there's no unity there.
I'm not going to waste any time on that human being that I have to. No, I can only imagine what that would have looked like. Because here's this guy who's literally has admitted that he wants to have communities determine whether or not children can have sex or not. And he's claiming that, he's called Chase a groomer before because of drag queen. It's like, guys, come on. Like, seriously, you're going to nominate this guy?
With Thaddeus Russell?
Oh, yeah. And Eliza Blue, whatever.
Whatever happened to her? I feel like she just
fell off the map once that very conversation is what caused her to fall off the map. But Clint doesn't have the decency to fall off the map himself, even though he said the same disgusting things that she did. Like, he agreed with her. Anyways, yeah. So that would have been a disaster to see a Clint Chase campaign. And it would have been funny to. Yeah, I don't know how that would have worked. That would not have worked out well. I can just tell you. I can just say that would have not worked out well. I couldn't imagine of it. But yeah, so
Bill Weld.
Right, exactly.
Vouch for Trump.
Vouch for Trump. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's oh my gosh. Anyways, so in that we also one of the things that we kind of because again we were worried about things getting pushed to Monday because we had the large elections then too, and we supported the push to do plurality voting instead of majority voting. So they didn't need to reach a majority to get us seated on the LNC at large positions, which, if you notice, none of the Mises Caucus at large candidates got over 50%. So I kind of wonder if we had tried to push it out, but I don't think I think the room wanted to be done. And I thought about, okay, maybe we should have pushed it out and maybe we should have tried to get, to have a majority vote on at larges, and I think we probably would have gotten a couple of seats, which would have been good. But we kind of we had already won the presidential. It was kind of like, all right, let's just. I didn't want it to go to the region reps because it was going to be the same result anyway. So we gave it a whirl, and it didn't work out. So,
yeah,
is what
I get it. I mean, the fact that we got Jason there is.
The
biggest. I think that was the biggest win you could possibly have.
Oh, it was. It really was. And frankly, yeah. I mean, the LNC is irrelevant compared to what a POTUS campaign is, because the POTUS campaign determines who comes in over the next 4 years, right? It really does. It brings people in, or frankly, it scares people off, right? So that's one of those things. That's one of those things. Yeah, we kind of you don't want to push it too far. You don't want to. Risk it while you're ahead. You're kind of moving on. So yeah, but here's the thing. Angela's trapped. She can't resign. If she resigned, well, we have the chair.
Yeah.
Which you talk about disaster. I've already put rumors out. I've already told some people we need to find Angela a job outside the party so that she can quit and we get the chair position.
Maybe the RFK campaign.
Right. Oh gosh. Yeah. I heard that rumor from several people and I never got it. I could never get anybody on the record about it, but yeah. I heard the rumor that she applied to their campaign and wanted to resign.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it. Like it ended at 1:30 at night local time. It was a long day. It was exhausting. It was. I can't. By the way, I cannot. We had a floor team. I don't want to name everybody, but we had a floor team that was just like on point. Like they were especially Friday. They just kicked Mises' ass all up and down the floor. And just put it out there on the line and kept them from trying to purge people. I mean, we talk about ultimately the sad thing is like Karen Ann's shenanigans about keeping delegates from convention worked. She only won by 6 votes. And I know way more people who were kept away because she was telling them that they weren't going to be seated than that. So it's kind of sad that, somebody got reseated on the LNC because of, their cheating essentially by lying to people and saying, "Oh, we're going to keep you out of the delegation spots."
And at state conventions too, because I was cheated out of a delegate spot.
Right. Oh, absolutely. No, this was a big problem. And what's funny is that they talk about bylaws and obeying them, and then they snuck a bunch of people onto California that shouldn't have been allowed. And
they don't
it is
care
what
about
it is.
Bylaws. Come on.
Yeah, no, they don't. No, it's only when they can weaponize bylaws is when they give a shit. It's they literally have a hired gun who will stretch bylaws. Our parliament. So Karen Ann Harlos did her little interpretation of California bylaws, and our parliamentarian, who literally knows what he's doing, looked at it and goes, That's a very inventive interpretation of the bylaws. Is the way he put it. But yeah, he's like, no, she's full of bullshit, and it's kind of sad that people buy into it. So it is what it is. But I think again we came in, we got the number one priority, and I think the results post convention speaks to the effectiveness of what happened. I mean, it has demoralized them far more and faster than I expected. I mean, we are seeing them drop like flies. I didn't expect to see Heiss resign. I was planning on resigning, and then I saw his thing. I was like, okay, well, I'll release him. I wasn't resigning. I was not running for re-election.
The weird thing with Heiss is that he made that post that is showing up on Archie's screen right there in the Mises organizer chat. But I don't think unless there was like a podcast or something, I don't think he said anything publicly. I feel like he just kind of fell off the map.
I think so. I mean, he says in that letter he's deleting all of his social media stuff and leaving, and he's done for a while.
He didn't.
I'm pretty sure.
What were you going to say, Archie?
I'm pretty sure that this scroll I have going from the state organizers chat was leaked by Josh Smith.
That makes sense.
I don't think it would have had to be one of Josh's people, because I don't think they would have had Josh in there anymore. But right. I could definitely see it being someone loyal to Josh for sure. Because I'm sure, I mean, the Mises caucus, even though Josh didn't get many votes at the actual convention, I do think Josh running did help increase the division in that caucus by a lot.
Yeah.
And even in 2022.
He showed their hypocrisy. He really did. Yeah. Because here's a guy who believes everything that they believe. Yeah. And who is a far better. I mean, like, listen, I got my problems with Joshua Smith. Clearly. He's clearly not a libertarian on a lot of issues. And that's a problem. But he's a far better public speaker than Rexenwald. He's far more entertaining speaker than I could sit there and listen to Joshua Smith all day long. Rexenwald, my gosh, you couldn't have found a more boring speaker. Holy cow. Okay, if he's on shrooms.
He's a walking ambience.
If he's on shrooms, that's interesting. But yeah, it really showed their hypocrisy. And I think that was that was the reason why Chase won, is because they kept showing their hypocrisy with the conventioning, with the Joshua Smith, and even with Mike Termott. I think that they burned a lot of bridges with both the Termott campaign and with the Joshua Smith campaign, and that's what cost them. I really think that's their own actions cost them, the POTUS nomination. I mean, I like to. I think that obviously a lot of people worked on the other side to get Chase the nomination, and et cetera. But I think their own fun. They had a much better shot of it if they didn't, burn all their bridges with people. But that's it. If you don't buy into their entire philosophy, entire plan, hook, line, and sinker, well, they have no use for you. So.
Well, Hayes just thought he could steamroll everyone, because that's what they did in 2022. So he thought he could just set the agenda, basically just tell everyone else, including a lot of his members or former people in the caucus, Josh, who was loyal to them like more than anyone. I mean, he was their chair candidate for multiple elections. Heiss just thought he could just say, if you don't agree with me on everying, go fuck yourself. And
look at Hornberger as well. Hornberger is his most principled guy in the race. Like he's not my favorite style of candidate, but I really like his positions on things. I like how he expresses himself. He's just not my favorite style of candidate, but he hasn't changed. And yet he was their candidate 4 years ago, but now he's an outcast. It kind of shows you that they're not again, there are so many ways that people could see the hypocrisy, and that's why I think so many of them just didn't show up. And I think that was their downfall. They kept showing how hypocritical they were.
Well, as far as Hornberger goes, I think the only reason they nominated him in 2020 in the first place, I don't think it was because of any principles or any of his positions. I think it was just kind of the circles he runs in and the people that he's friends with, because they saw that he had.
Sure.
It's all like, I like how they say this is all, or they say their opponents are all wanting a giant social club for the LP, but that's really what it is. It's just
that's what they want.
It's Heiss bringing in his friends and bringing in the people he looks up to, and there's no real. I mean, they have moved in kind of the right-wing paleo direction, but there hasn't really been, before that, there wasn't really a set ideology. It was just, here are the people who are friends with the people that
they would pay lip service to Austrian economics. They would pay, some of these things, they would pay lip service to a lot of things, but they really have no solid core. A lot of people gave up on the party after Reno, and I can understand why, but if you look deeper, because the Mises Caucus really did like a solid, solidified block. But what Heiss did was he pulled a lot of people with very different goals of the party, and he was able to get them all to believe that he agreed with them and that he was going to drive the party in the direction that they wanted it to go in. But so you had a bunch of people who are, who just want the party to be a GOP caucus. We've seen that. I mean, that literally is what Angela McArdle is doing now. They just want the party to be a GOP caucus. Right. You have the people who want just the bold messaging. You have the people who want, kind of a Hoppian, and the fake anarchist, the local fascist people. You have those people who want the party to express those beliefs. So you have a bunch of different groups that Heiss essentially hoodwinked into thinking that he was on their side and that he was supporting them. Well, as it turned out, that's not really how you can't keep all of those people happy, right? There's just no way you could do that. Now you can do that before you get in power because you can just lie to them, right? But once you're actually in power and you start doing things, well, everyone's going to start to see through it because it's pretty obvious what you're doing or not doing. And so that I think really undercut their movement by you can't live up to promises to everybody if you're promising everybody everything. It just is what it is. So yeah, I don't know. It's wild. I mean, it's really interesting. It's really wild to see how I was kind of surprised how forcefully they've come out against Chase. Mm-hmm. It is like that has been surprising to me. Like we all knew that they were sore winners after Reno, right? I didn't realize how much of sore losers they would be. Like I guess I should have expected it. But like Dave Smith coming out and doing his little, I don't even know if I can call myself a libertarian anymore. It's like, my God, you realize that Chase is actually more libertarian than you are, dude.
Oh, I know. That's the funniest part.
Or he's more libertarian than Ron Paul, even. Like that's not
by
even,
far.
Obviously, that's not saying that much. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So it's wild to me. It's wild to me that they've just kind of like they've basically just like started to wash their hands of the party. And I really think that Angela McArdle doing this whole, well, we're going to help Trump win is her only marketplace are those people, are the Hannah Goodmans from Colorado, that just want to sell the party out to the GOP to get better GOP candidates. It's not what the Libertarian Party is here to do, guys. Like, it's just not. And it will never be. There's always going to be a core part of the Libertarian Party that's just going to completely reject that nonsense, that we're just here to get better Republicans elected. We've seen what happens when better Republicans get elected. Not much. Like, come on.
And when they're better Republicans or Trump, I mean, that's not
right.
Better than what exactly?
That's it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then, and they just they're just a bunch of social conservatives who can't stand the idea that somebody is gay and running on the ticket. Like, and anybody who's like, "Oh, you're calling somebody bigots." Yeah. Did you see the response to Chase? It's pretty blatant.
I know.
It's obvious,
and especially with how radical Chase is. It's not right. He's not Bill Weld.
No, he is a radical libertarian, and it's not even close. It's really not. It's wild how they tried to sell this idea that he's a gay communist. Like, that's not what I hear all the time. Like, in what way? Like, I get why he's gay. Okay, that's a fair accusation, you guys. But what about the communist part?
To them, being gay is being communist.
That's true. That's true. You're believing that
their point of view, like
it's a communist plot. Homosexuality is a communist plot.
He was on C-SPAN the other day. Oh, go on, Archie.
I find something really interesting, though. The parallel I've seen between 2020 and Joe and 2024 and Chase is, so in 2020, probably a lot of viewers do know that I was in the Mises Caucus. So was John. And in 2020, Joe came out with what they call the infamous tweet, the anti-racist tweet. And seeing the reaction in the Mises Caucus Facebook group told me that I was in the wrong place. Like, I instantly knew this is not really the place for me. And I was on my way out as of that moment. And what's really interesting to watch is they're calling some of Chase's tweets. No, I think it was a Termot tweet. This is a Joe moment, just like 2020. And the thing is, it is exactly like 2020 because you have some that are doubling down on the bigotry and tripling and quadrupling down. And then I've seen some people say, wait a minute, this is not good.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, at this point, it's pretty obvious if your eyes haven't been opened, they'll never be opened. Like especially after Chase's nomination.
Yeah.
I think that the fact that Mike Tremont was a Mises guy and that they threw him to the curb is also going to hurt a lot of people, and that it's going to really, like, listen, we've already seen them, completely write off the party and run away from the party now. We're going to see that even more so as the Chase campaign gets going, because here's the thing, Chase has a team that knows what it's doing. Like, they know how to run a campaign. They know how to get media attention. He's already gotten a lot of media attention. In fact, way more than Joe Jorgensen had at this point. Mm-hmm. His campaign is in a better spot than Jorgensen's campaign was, and Jorgensen had had the second largest vote totals in LPK history. So, it's interesting that so many people think that. It's funny to me that people think that Chase is not going to get the right wing vote. I'm sorry. If you think that Chase isn't going to pull just as much from Trump as he does from Biden, it's because you're online too much. That's really all it boils down to.
So
because if you actually listen to Chase, he's actually going to speak to you, regardless of which side you're on.
They need to touch grass.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's just good general life advice. So don't take it too hard. But yeah, no, touch grass. Seriously, if you actually go out into the real world and people see Chase, he's going to come off really well with it. He's going to do it very effectively.
He was on C-SPAN the other day saying taxation is theft. Like, I don't. Right. And they're still calling him a communist. Like, what are you?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's the whole. Listen, it's like when Dave Smith and Joshua Eagle did the whole NATO debate. Dave Smith claims that he destroyed everybody. When after the debate, he was like, "No, that was a really good discussion." Even Mises people were saying, "Oh, that was actually a good discussion." Joshua Eagle made some good points. Dave Smith is going to lie about it and say, "Oh, I destroyed them in the debate," because the debate me bros only know they only want to sell. They're only there to sell the narrative that they won the debate. It doesn't actually matter what happened in the debate. So Dave's like it's with Chase Oliver was on with the Reason People, and they talked about they asked questions about the trans issue, trans kids issue, et cetera, and Dave Smith claimed that Chase was deer in the headlights. It's like, no, dude, you're lying. It's just you're a bold-faced lie. Chase handled those questions really well and really effectively. And here's the thing: if you're in their little internet bubble, these things actually appear like Chase is not going to get any right-leaning votes. But if you're actually outside of that and just a normal person walking around and you hear Chase, he's going to appeal to you. So I'm really interested to see how well Chase does. I think that this could be a really good moment in showing that Twitter doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't. Like, I know that there was the massive, tons of bigots from the MAGA campaign came and attacked Chase and went after him and all this. And it's
there's a lot of Mises people too. I mean, I don't know if you saw. I assume you saw on Twitter. There was the whole thing about how a few years ago Chase was considering bringing his 14-year-old niece to a RuPaul event.
Right. So he's asking if it was age appropriate, which is like, oh my God.
In RuPaul's Drag Race, for anyone who doesn't know, it's like it's a basic cable TV show. I saw some like parenting website that said it's like it promotes good values or something like that. Like, this isn't people whipping their dicks out or something like that.
Again, these people don't care about the kids. They're just there to bash people. They're just internet trolls. They just want to attack people. They don't care about the kids. They just want to in fact, they're worse. They're just as bad as some people. They're just trying to use the kids to hurt people. Like that's all there is.
Oh yeah,
they're trying to pretend
yeah,
they pretend it's about the kids. No, it's not about the kids.
It's an edgelord thing. Edgelord thing. Like it's Chase possibly taking his niece to an all ages
cable
TV show tour. Exactly. Like
my daughter's 10, and I'm trying like I don't know that I have no interest in going to a drag show race. I don't care, but I'm like,
yeah.
If my daughter wanted to watch a show, like I might watch it with her just to kind of like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on, but like my daughter is mature enough at 10 to look at that and like she's not like it's not sexualizing children. It's just just people with makeup. Like
as you know, as a person who went to a drag show last night, like the best way to know if it's too risque for children is it being held at a bar? And at that point, if you're bringing your children to a bar, we've got some bigger issues.
That's a whole other issue. Right. Right. Yeah. And I mean, listen, it's wild to me that their hero, Rothbard, literally talked about parents selling children, chopping off whatever fingers and what have you. Like, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that they would hold him up in such high regard and then completely ignore him on parents being able to make choices. And here's the thing: Chase has the libertarian position on these issues, which is get government out of these decisions. Government should be in those decisions.
Well, I think you can really see the hypocrisy too, where Chase bringing his niece to an all-ages cable TV show event is grooming, but Tom Woods being 26 and dating a 15-year-old, that's just
it's a Catholic thing.
Catholicism, yeah.
Catholicism, yeah.
Catholics marry young, which Tom was 30 when he got married and 26 when he started dating her. But I guess that's young in the grand scheme of things. He wasn't in a nursing home or something like that.
Speaking of Woods, has he made a statement about distancing himself from the LP now?
I haven't seen a statement about that, but he's been attacking Chase pretty hard. I haven't seen him call Chase. It's funny though, because I haven't seen him call Chase a groomer, and I'm sure he wants to, but he knows like probably shouldn't go there.
Yeah.
I mean, Rachel brings up a point about the drag show. Sorry to go back to that, but she brought up a point that I thought of when I was talking on Twitter just a few days ago. It's like the people who complain the most about drag shows are the same people who will join a random GTA 5 lobby with 3 of their kids.
Yeah, I mean, if RuPaul's Drag Race is the worst thing a 14-year-old is seeing, they're probably the most sheltered 14-year-old in all of America. Like when I was 14, I was on the fucking internet. Like I'm watching worse stuff than that on TV. Like this is super tame.
No, I mean, but part of parenting is preparing your kids to deal with things. Just completely sheltering them. I mean, listen, I know more people who are harmed by evangelical cults than drag races. I can tell you that much for damn sure. I mean, I grew up. Did you ever see Shiny Happy People? You ever see that show? I grew up in that.
I think I've heard of it.
I grew up in that environment where a bunch of homeschool kids, where girls always wear dresses, et cetera, et cetera. These people live with lifelong problems because of the way they were raised and the way that they've been this legalistic society, and that is extremely damaging to children. And we don't talk about that. We don't talk about how we need to crack down on evangelical cults. Yeah, we generally in that area, when it comes to religion, we respect parents' right to choose things. Well, guess what? Far more children have been damaged by evangelical cults than transgender surgeries, and it's not even close. Not even close. Like, yes, I'm not trying to.
Look at the current Speaker of the House.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and I get that argument too. It's like, yeah, statistically, you're more likely to be harmed by religion. Like, people need to take a college statistics class, honestly.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
or a high school one.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, they talk about grooming. Well, guess what? Your family members are the number one threat to your children. and it's not even close. Like, it is just horrifying how much of that happens within a family, and it's
I'm sure.
It's one of those things that it's they're trying to, again, it's the satanic panic all over again with a lot of these things.
Yeah,
trying to make mountains out of molehill when they're trying it's the age-old story of making the other the threat, right? When in reality the person that looks just like you, talks like you, and has kids like you is probably is far more statistically likely to harm your children than a drag queen is. And
it's wild to me too how so many of the people that are doing this new satanic panic thing where they're freaking out about every little thing and it's corrupting the kids and all of that are like the same people who are like saying Nazi stuff on Twitter and throwing racial slurs out there.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that, again, it's easy to be the throw everybody, all predators into the wood chipper guy, right? That's the easy position to take.
Yeah.
And these people just are taking the easy, it's easy to feel, people want to feel like they have the moral high ground, right? That is 90% of the internet is people trying to get the moral high ground on people. And so that's an easy way to appear like you're doing it, when in reality it's quite the opposite. I think if you're going around calling people groomers that are not, you're desensitizing that word. That's not a good place to be, because there are groomers out there, and we need to prepare to deal with them, and we need to teach our children how to avoid them, et cetera, et cetera. And by calling gay people groomers or calling people who take their kids to drag shows, like, come on, like you need to deal with threats appropriately. One of my favorite books about parenting is by Lenore Skenazy, and it deals the entire book, and I forget the name of the book, but the entire book is talking about what are realistic threats to your children and what are not. And so it talks about, like, you're worried about your kid walking down the sidewalk. Well, guess what? Your child is safer today than in the 1960s, and we let kids walk around then. So, like, it's a good way to put things in perspective about, okay, there are things we need to protect our children from. There are threats, legitimate threats we need to protect our children from. But when you try to protect them from things that really aren't that big of a threat, you're actually harming their development, actually keeping them from identifying real threats. So that's a whole other topic. That could be a show in its own. The whole response to Chase we could sit here and talk for hours.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about what we think Angela's going to be doing. Like, I don't know
what she is doing.
Well, yeah, I don't know but I don't know what her big game plan is. Like, whether this is her audition for Newsmax or whether she's actually going to stick around and finish off her term. Like, I genuinely thought that there was a decent chance that Angela was just going to resign within a few weeks of the convention. Like, specifically after she said, I forget who, I think it might have been Carlin Borisenko said, like, are you endorsing Chase? And she said something. It wasn't an endorsement. It was like, when I'm ready.
After all these people have left, all the Mises hardcore people have been abandoning. Jeremy Kaufman's gone. Which, by the way, maybe that's one of the bigger wins from the party. I'm not really about running people out of the party, but there are some people who just need to be run out of the party.
Jeremy needed to go.
Yeah.
No, you cannot have people like that should never be allowed anywhere near the Libertarian Party, and it's not even I'm sorry, if you want to debate me on that, you need to get out of the party too. Like, I'm sorry, you can't, like, seriously, I don't go around telling people to leave the Libertarian Party, but if you think Jeremy Kaufman belongs in the Libertarian Party, get the fuck out of it. You don't belong here. And you never will. And that's the thing about, one of the things about the Mises Caucus they don't understand is that they will never belong in the Libertarian Party. They just won't, because the Libertarian Party will always be socially liberal as fuck. And that's just the way it's going to always be. Sorry. If you're not comfortable with that, go back to the GOP. Or no, stay with us and grow a pair of balls and learn to live with a society that has different values than you. Like, come on, be a libertarian for once in your life. Anyways, yeah. So no, with Angela McArdle, I mean, listen, we'd heard rumors about a deal, or about that they were going to have, like, Trump to speak was going to have, give some concessions or whatever. Trump ain't conceding shit. The guy just literally said the other day that he wants to execute drug dealers, and now we're saying that he's going to free Ross. Like, what? Like, come on. Like, no, I'm sorry. Listen, if it happens, amazing. I'll eat my hat on it. That'd be great. But
I'd love to see it. But.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, regardless of what happens. But come on, we're supposed to, again, all this Mises strategy, this brilliant Mises strategy boils down to is we should trust Republicans. That's all it boils down to. That's all they're telling people to do. That's all their entire strategy is trust Republican.
Well, you heard the rumor about who the Libertarian in the cabinet is supposedly going to be, right?
Lee?
Yeah, Mike Lee.
Yeah, Mike Lee. Wow, we got a libertarian, Mike Lee, in the cabinet, you guys. Oh,
I mean, we should have been able to guess that when during Trump's speech, first of all, he called himself a libertarian. And second of all, he started talking about some article written by someone that he was calling a libertarian. And
really?
I've talked to a bunch of different people. No one had ever even heard of the guy.
Well, do you know his name?
I don't remember it off the top of my head, but he was talking about an article he said a libertarian, and then he named him, name I never heard in my life. And Trump was talking about how that guy wrote an article saying that people should vote for him. And it's just some Trump supporter guy.
I mean, there are libertarians who say that they should vote for Trump. Was it Walter Block who just came out?
No, it wasn't.
No, but I know Walter Block wasn't who he referred to, but I know Walter Block just wrote an article about supporting Trump.
Yeah, Walter Block
I
did
saw
that
it
in 2016 too.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, didn't he get kicked out of the Mises Institute recently?
Yeah, he did, which is interesting
what that was
because
about.
It was about his position on
Israel
and Palestine.
Right, that's right.
And I get why but he did seem a little trigger happy with some of the bombing to me.
Yeah,
I get that
word was weird, but it's also cancel culture, right?
Yeah, but the funny thing is when it's in the Israel-Palestine situation, they have a problem with it. But I don't know how much you've looked into Gary North before. He's a dominionist. He believes he died a couple years ago. But he believed in, and I'm not making this up. You can look it up. I can source the hell out of this. You're going to be like,
I'm preparing myself.
He believes in stoning to death disobedient children, blasphemers, and I think women who have abortions.
Well, if you guys can consent to a fascist society, it's okay. It's libertarian, don't you know?
And he was given the 2004 Murray Rothbard Medal of Freedom from the Mises Institute, and to his death, he was a senior fellow at the Mises Institute.
Yeah, I mean, the Mises Institute has been infested and become the late Rothbard Hoppian Institute.
Really and he also
just like the
Congress. Master.
Oh yeah, he also worked on the Ron Paul homeschool curriculum. I think he was the curriculum director, actually.
I mean, right now it's like if he's worked with Ron Paul, he's probably been he's probably a racist. Like that's kind of statistically likely. If you've worked with Ron Paul, oh man, it's.
Speaking of racists who worked with Ron Paul, I thought it was funny how people were getting on Chase, and they still are, for saying.
By the way, you're getting completely
racist.
You're getting completely unfiltered, Jonathan Casey, right now. Normally, I'm.
I know, I like it.
I'm no fucks given, Jonathan, right now. This is like I've had 2 years where I've been trying to be pretty buttoned up. I'm no fucks giving right now, so go for it. What were you saying about?
So about Rockwell, because they're giving Chase a bunch of shit for saying that Lou Rockwell is a racist.
Oh, yeah, I've seen.
I know there was.
He is. Hey. Lou Rockwell is a racist. There you go.
There was that article that came out that Rockwell wrote him. So he publishes a bunch of racist shit all the time from other authors.
Oh yeah.
But there was an article written by Lou Rockwell back in May about how the multiculturalists are trying to breed out
white women are marrying black men. I remember that. Yeah.
No, it was, and one of the quotes was, "It can't be long before there is a Hispanic president." He was complaining. I have some of the excerpts of it here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I know. I remember this.
He's mad about how he's mad about how you have to press 1 for English. Like it's like really stereotypical stuff.
Oh, Jesus Christ! You had to press an extra button.
I hear Spanish almost every day in Texas. Like I don't even think about it anymore.
I lived in Miami for like 3 years, and I was fine. I would walk into a Target and the cashier would talk to me in Spanish, and I would just talk in English, and most of the time they could talk English too. I know a little bit of Spanish, but everything was okay. Like I got my whatever I was there to buy that day, and everything was good. But another thing in that Rockwell article. This is a quote from it. "Everywhere in the U.S., there are ads encouraging white women to marry blacks or to be in a sexual relationship with them, producing non-white children. This encouragement continues despite evidence that white women married to black men or in sexual relationships with black men suffer a high murder rate. You mean to tell me this is the guy we're saying isn't a racist?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, listen.
This is Stormfront right here.
Yeah.
No, it's linked to the Daily Stormer.
Oh,
and the articles he puts on his website are far, far worse than that. Like, if you allow that stuff on your website, you're like, I'm sorry, but no, it's so obvious and so clear. I mean, listen, it's they've gotten, they claim to say that they don't care that they're being called a racist and bigot and all these things, but they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't push back so hard against it. And the reality is when people like Lou Rockwell say racist bullshit like this, yeah, it everyone can see it. And they try to defend it and they try to pass it off as, oh, he's just, he's just saying things. He's not actually believes that black people are lesser than whites. Yeah, no, when you complain about white women sleeping with black men, that is because you think black people are lesser than white people. That is racism, period. It doesn't get any much simpler than that. You can gaslight yourself all you want. Everyone else can see it.
It's not a normal thing to complain about. Like it.
Who thinks about? Listen. You're going about your day. I think about the weather. I think about playing some video games. I think about tweeting some stuff. I never think across my mind, go, I'm going to write an article that talks about white women sleeping with black men. I do not understand what makes it cross your mind to think about that type of thing. Unless maybe he's got some kind of fetish I don't know about. But
I was about to say it's like the fetishization of racism.
Right. I don't get it. I do not understand what makes people like that wake up and think, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about.
It's a deep hatred of black people. That's the only thing it can be.
Yeah. It's wild. I don't understand it. It's yeah. And the excuse making, I think the excuse making is pretty blatantly obvious. It is what it is. I think they're going to continue doing that. But back to Angela.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got
sidetracked there. Back to Angela. I think this was her plan the whole time. I think that they thought that they were going to have a candidate because remember, Rechtenwald openly talked about how he wasn't going to try to get votes. He literally said that with his mouth. He was not going to try to get votes. That's not what he was going for. He was there to educate people. Blah blah blah. That tells me right there that they didn't want to oppose Trump from the beginning. And I wouldn't have been surprised. I know that the rumor's been out there, but I would not have been surprised at all if he drops that and endorses Trump. But honestly, the way they were going to run his campaign, I don't think he would have needed to because it would have been such a dud of a campaign that it wouldn't have taken votes anyways, right? So, I don't even think they would have had to worry about it too much. But as far as Angela talked a year or two. I forget it was this past Freedom Fest or the one before, about the Colorado deal with the GOP there. And she talked about how maybe doing it in other states. Like, this has been their game plan this whole time. And it's blatantly obvious for everyone to see now. It has been the Mises Caucus game plan is to sell out to the GOP, is to get better GOP people elected. And listen, the only thing that's doing is turning the Libertarian Party into a GOP caucus. And it's blatantly obvious. It's as obvious as the nose on Angela McArdle's face is. It's clear as day. If you don't want to believe it, it's because you are trying to bury your head in the sand. It really is that simple at this point. I mean, she's openly said, support Chase in blue states to take take votes away from Joe Biden, but not take them away from Trump. Like, it's blatantly obvious. We all can see it. If you don't want to believe it, it's because you want to intentionally lie to people. I mean, you want to gaslight people.
What is it she said the other day? I'm going to try to find it right now.
I've lost track. To be honest.
When she called us feds. I don't know if you caught that. It was.
I saw you change your name or something. I think.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Because she called us. She was on Austin Peterson's show again the other day. Oh, here it is.
He's a real winner.
She was on. Yeah. She was on with Austin Peterson, and we made a post about the quote from her, and Austin Peterson said, "Cringertarians mad," and then she responded saying they are feds. But this was the quote. So Austin Peterson asked, he said, "You're working to try and use your presidential candidate, who is left-leaning and can steal from Biden voters, to re-elect Donald Trump as president of the United States." And you'll notice for a second, and I only have a small quote from her here, but during the actual episode, she does not push back on that at all. She doesn't say, "Oh no, we're not trying to re-elect Trump." But let me keep going.
Wait, what was it? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So then Austin says, so is it safe to say that you would like to see Donald Trump be elected so that he can fulfill those promises? Angela says, I'd like to see the promises fulfilled. I have to be careful how I speak about these sort of things.
Yeah, it means you want to see Trump elected.
Exactly.
That's a lot of words for yes.
Yeah, well, remember she said something too about, hang on, what did she say before the convention? I'd forgotten about this, but she was on with Austin as well. What did she say before?
She said that Donald Trump, I think it was, and I'm paraphrasing, but this was
is a better person.
Better person and a better president than Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, I made a clip of that.
And here's the funny
thing.
Here's the funny thing.
Weld.
Yeah, exactly. She's here to vouch for Donald Trump. Here's the funny thing, guys. She can talk all she wants to about the campaign and whatever. She has zero control over the Chase campaign. She can talk to the state affiliates and try to influence them, but she has zero control over what the state affiliates do. Like, she can try to use her bully pulpit, but that's it. Like, she can't actually tell them what to do. So they can, and the funny thing is what you'll find is that in blue states, they are more likely to be conservatives in the Libertarian Party.
Right.
And in red states, they're more likely to be liberal, left-leaning libertarians. So her entire strategy is based on something she can't control and something she can't control and something that goes completely against what the people in those states are actually going to want to do. Right. So, you get this opportunity basically where, again, she's just blowing smoke out of her ass because she doesn't actually have the ability to do the things she's doing. She's trying, honestly, what she's trying to do is she's faking it till she's making it. Because if Trump gets elected, well, then she can say, well, I helped you there, buddy. I got you that. When in reality, she has zero of anything to do with it. She has no control over who's going to vote. She's not going to be able to take any votes from Chase in the red states or the blue states or give them to one person or the other. She has zero control over it, except maybe messaging from LP National. But how's she gonna do that? Like, they've already started. They finally got an email out announcing the little almost 2 weeks after the convention. They finally got an email out saying that Chase Oliver, Mike Dermott were the nominees.
Did you see that email that they led with?
Oh my God, we forgot about the Trump merch. The Trump merch, remember that? I forgot about that. Oh, that's oh my word, that was wild. I got a call from somebody who's been in the Libertarian Party for nearly since the beginning. He was like, "Is it true that Trump's speaking?" It's like, "Yes." And this is somebody who's been invested in the party a long time. Spent tons of money in the party. And I'm like, "Yes." And then he's like, "What?" And I was like, "And they're also selling Trump merch on the store." And he's like, "What?" And he just I could hear his world just collapse around him. And he's just in shock. The poor guy was just in shock. And this is somebody who does a lot of work with state parties. And he's like, should I even go help with ballot access or whatever it was? And I'm like, I guess all we can do is show up at convention and try to fix this. So it was wild. I can't believe that they tried to sell Trump merch. The whole story about it was some rogue staffers.
It was an accident. No, it wasn't.
No, that's nonsense. They're just selling somebody down the river to cover it up.
Oh, 100%. But as far as that Chase email, the one they finally sent out the other day, they led, whoever typed it up is probably getting fired because they led in his platform with his immigration position. And there's no way in hell that that was Angela or something like that.
We talk about, speaking of the immigration platform, we talk about how getting Chase nominated was goal number one. But I am damn proud that we did not let them touch the platform. That was a priority. I don't care what people say, or if they accuse me of fake games. We were going to stall the entire night if we needed to make sure platform didn't come up, because we were not going to let these fuckers deal with the platform at all. We were
just
not
wait. Karen Anna's going to clip this. This is going to be.
Oh, absolutely. Clip it all you want. Clip it all you want. I will. Hey, guess what? In 2026, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, there you go. You can clip that too. They know I'm going to stop them. It doesn't take much to stop them. They don't actually. Here's the thing. Mises Caucus thought that they were real brilliant in all their strategy and everything, but realize if you had the numbers, you'd be as dumb as box of bricks. You can still get done what you want to get done. Right. We went into a convention not having a majority, and we got most of what we wanted, and that's because they don't know what they're doing. They think they do because they had the numbers in the past, and they don't have the numbers now, and they certainly won't in 2026. They're going to, I think what you're going to see is and this is one of the reasons why I stepped down I decided not to run for re-election chairs, because I think that of the CLC, I think that the Chase campaign is going to be bringing in a lot of people. Now, those people are the Mises Caucus is going to try to run them out of the party. Like, that is going to be an open strat. They're not going to want these people in the party. So the CLC needs to position itself to be a home for these people and help keep these people involved in the party to get them to 2026 and get the party back. And I feel like my persona, my attack dog style, whatever you want to call it, is probably not conducive to that, right? So I think the CLC is going to kind of take a more moderate approach, because really, the reality is, all the CLC needs to do is just keep people that are being brought in. Like, It doesn't need to go after the Mises Caucus anymore. The Mises Caucus is dying on its own, and it's collapsing on its own. So the CLC just needs to make sure that it's in position to bring people in, give them a home, and keep them involved in the party until 2026, when we have the numbers to actually change things. So that I think that was the motivating factor for me not running again for CLC. Is I think I can do better outside the CLC. I'm not going to be constrained
exactly
by it. So,
but do you think Angela is going to finish? Well, two questions here, and this is obviously just speculation. But first of all, do you think Angela is going to finish her term? The second question is, if you do think she's going to finish her term, do you think she's going to run again in 2026?
I mean, who the hell would vote for her in 2026? Why would I don't know why anybody voted for her at the past convention.
No, I know.
She's literally just a snake oil salesman pretending she's done stuff when she's actually run the party into the ground. No, I mean it's hard to say, because it really depends. Honestly, I think it depends on the Chase campaign, on how well it does. If the Chase campaign, let's say the Chase campaign does as well or better than the Joe Jorgensen campaigns, and blows this whole nonsense about rigging the election one way or the other and getting deals done. Let's say Trump loses. I think her whole strat's out the window. I mean, listen, Blake Masters, they went all hard for Blake Masters. They went into the paint for him, and then he lost, and it didn't affect anything. Because guess what? Nobody's listening to you to determine their vote. Like, they're not. They're listening to the candidates maybe a little bit, but in reality, when they walk into the voting booth, they're not having in their mind, well, the Libertarian Party candidate endorsed one guy, so I'm going to vote for them. No, they vote for the Libertarian Party candidate because they want to vote for the Libertarian Party candidate.
Even Mises Caucus people, I don't think, are like, let me see what Angela thinks.
No, not at all. So, I think it really depends. If Joe Biden wins, I think the whole idea that the whole we're relevant now gets completely destroyed, right? It collapses in on itself. And especially if the poll numbers come out and show that Chase, and I think they will, Chase pulled pretty equal numbers from both sides, this whole nonsense is going to get thrown out. And if you haven't realized by now that the Mises strategy is a bunch of bullshit, I'm sorry, you're going to realize it in a few months, probably. But if Trump wins, then I think that she would probably try to use that as saying, oh, look, I gave Trump the election, and try to get a job with it. I would not, I'm 50-50 on whether she finishes out the term. If she gets a job, I think she takes it. I think, especially, my prediction has been that she'll go work for the LaRouche people, the Schiller, the cult, Schiller, the LaRouche cult people, the Schiller Institute, because she's had close relationships with them. Hell, she was going to go to a campaign event for one of their candidates.
I know. And then that magically
then she pretended that she didn't actually agree to going with it when we've had proof that she did agree to go to it. It's just wild to me to think you can be a chair of a political party and then go to a campaign.
Maybe she can co-host a show on RT with Scott Ritter.
Right.
You know, it would also be really, really funny. She should make another website, Colloidal Silver, for straight women only.
Oh yeah, whatever happened to her makeup line?
I know it disappeared for a while, but I heard it was back recently.
It was back.
So I know she took, but I think it was Jeremy, our other podcast co-host who's not here today. I think he told me the website was back online like a few weeks ago, but I know it took orders, and then I was hearing that people didn't actually get any of the orders.
Right.
So I'm on. Okay, so I think because I know it's called Bonadia or Bonadia Cosmetics. I
don't remember.
It. And I'm on bonadiacosmetics.com, and there's makeup here. It doesn't really.
Is it hers though? I thought like there was somebody else.
Oh yeah, it's hers. Oh, it's definitely hers.
Oh, it is. Oh, so
it says Our Origin Story by Angela McCardle. I just wanted a women's cosmetic line that was made for, modeled by, and marketed to women. Okay. I don't know if she's actually shipping anything. No, it still says pre-order.
Oh, okay.
All the products besides the gift certificate are on pre-order.
Oh, okay.
Take the money and run.
I guess. I mean, this is all it's wild. It's just repackaged crap.
Oh yeah, it's not. She's not making this, and
maybe I should just repackage Bud Light, and I don't know.
Rachel just said it's anti-guy liner, so.
Anti-guy liner.
I mean, maybe she can put her. She already has put her boyfriend in charge of things that he's totally unqualified for, so maybe he can make it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's the other thing. That whole saga, around her hiring him and then them claiming the 90-day turnaround, and then it immediately collapsed right after she said we've turned the party around, and then we're right back down to the bottoming out.
It's like the George Bush mission accomplished sign for the Iraq War.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah, I think somebody made a meme of that. I remember seeing a meme with her face about mission accomplished. It's like, guys, you got one big donation and calling it the end of the road there. I mean, listen, it's wild. One thing I think that's interesting, I don't know if we should talk about it.
We can talk about it.
I was going to talk about, we'll talk about Rechtenwald for a second, because I saw some people on his campaign that didn't realize he had a drug issue. Like, he's had this issue for a while. I know I've seen like in 2011 he started doing it, and then he later admitted something about going into the hospital for his Adderall abuse, and so he was quote unquote canceled.
He didn't say Adderall abuse for that. So let me fill in.
That's
people.
right.
We talked about this when obviously you were busy doing your taking over the party thing and pissing off Karen Ann.
Oh yeah.
But during the stream we did for the convention, we talked about this. So Rechtenwald wrote a Quillette article in 2017, just to fill everybody in. And he admitted that at some point, I think a few years before, he had developed a problem with an addiction to Adderall. And it didn't sound like it was a therapeutic use. It sounded like it was very recreational. In that same article, he said that in 2016, I think it was fall 2016, he was hospitalized for a medication-related issue. The other thing, so his NYU colleagues, they accused him of showing up so high on Adderall to meetings that his tongue was sticking out of his mouth.
Adderall-fueled bully was one of the things that they called it.
Yeah. And after that, I think it was 2018. I forget if it was 2018 or 2019, but he was actually arrested in Pennsylvania for possession of a controlled substance. I do not have the arrest report, but this is publicly available online, the charge, and the statute that the charge is under is also publicly available. Now, the statute does not say this was Adderall, but it talks about a substance and not having a prescription for it. So this is specifically about some kind of controlled substance that's a prescription drug. So, I mean, if you put two and two together there's a very good chance that this was Adderall, unless he's developed some other issue.
What year did you say that was?
I think it was 2018.
Was the arrest? Okay.
Yeah, the arrest, I believe, was in 2018.
Gotcha. So
the hospitalization, which he just said was for a medication-related issue, he did not specify Adderall. That was fall 2016. I think in that article he said maybe 2013-ish or so was when he developed the Adderall problem, because he admitted to it. It's behind a paywall right now, but thank God for Wayback Machine.
Right. I think, I mean, it shouldn't surprise us knowing who Heiss is nominated for different things without even Googling them. Like he nominated the sexual predator, oh my gosh,
Daryl something for governor.
The Four Seasons landscaping guy.
Yeah.
To prison for cussing kids.
Yeah.
Speaking of groomers.
Right. Well,
I don't know if it was. I want to clarify because I don't know if it was touching kids or whipping
it was
dick out in front of
exposure,
kids. But it was something.
And it was also
not.
I
good.
went and read that story, and it was a weird. It was a weird situation where the guy whose kids he did it in front of had a beef with him. So like there was like, I don't know, there seemed to be reasonable doubt on some of that, but still you can't nominate somebody like with that record for governor race, like unless they're making like that a specific issue in their campaign, like, hey, I was, you know, they're just specifically dealing with that in their campaign. You can't nominate like somebody like that.
The guy was convicted. Wrongful convictions do happen. I can tell you that doing what I do for work. But I can also tell you that a lot of people
perception is pretty important.
But I can also tell you that a lot of people who claim to be innocent are not.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you that for sure too. So I mean, a lot of wrongful convictions, but also a lot of guilty people who are saying that they're innocent. Yep. But regardless of that, unless you have something really exonerating this guy, I mean, I don't even think I honestly don't think Heiss even knew about the conviction.
Google your candidate. Like, it just takes 2 seconds. Yeah. No, he obviously didn't even do any background research to just a name. And I mean, even, was it Heiss or was it the new chair of the Mises Caucus, talking about how Recton was the only guy who would do it? And it's kind of sad. Yeah, one of them said something along those lines.
Well, I think they asked Judge Napolitano. I think they asked Spike Cohen. I think they said that they asked, or they claimed to have asked Shane Hazel too, who is the guy who posted the GIF of somebody cocking a gun in response to Chase bringing his niece, or asking about bringing his niece to the RuPaul thing. So great candidate there.
Yeah.
But they got stuck with Rechtenwald, for better or for worse. I mean, better for us because he didn't win.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of one of those things that, I mean, you saw the picture of Rechtenwald just kind of like collapsed on the floor after he got
on the one knee.
Yeah, it's like, and then you know that Michael Heiss said, "Oh, we've got this in the bag. You just need to show up and do what I say, and we'll be fine." And
100% from the start, he's like, "You're gonna win, and we're gonna start our network or whatever."
Yeah, that is wild to me that they were so blatant. They were so blatant about, no, we're not here to start a political movement. We're here to start a company to make money. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't get how people can't see the grift. Like, it's wild. Well, and what's wild to me is what's wild to me is the budget that they had, and they still couldn't get it done. Because they spent 10 times what we spent, and probably maybe even more than that, and didn't get it done.
Well, they're hemorrhaging money too. I mean, if you look at that message from Heiss.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, especially with the fact that Heiss was like their guy that they rallied around. I mean, Dave was one of them too, but Dave's taking a step back. Heiss has dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out over the next 6 months, especially if Chase does well. And I think he will. I mean, listen, I've supported Chase from the very beginning. He and I had a car drive from Dallas to Abilene, and we talked about him. This was before we had announced, and we talked about him running, and he has the ability to speak to normal people, and that is something that is really important in a candidate, and it will show up in the vote totals, and so it'll be really interesting to see how well he does and how what the fallout from that will be, because especially if my hope is that he covers the spread in some states, and just throws the whole narrative that Angela did something to affect the race, like just throws that out the window. And I think he will. I think that this is going to be a pretty close election, and I think that he'll have the spread covered in plenty of places. So,
for sure,
it'll be interesting. It'll be a very interesting next few.
I mean, I'm curious to see if Angela tries to keep him off the ballot in some states, because I can't say definitively, but I've heard a few things.
Oh, I mean, I've heard a few things. Like, I've heard that the Mises Caucus is actively pushing states to keep Chase off the ballot. We know that Montana, that they have said that they're going to keep him off the ballot. that, yeah, they should be disaffiliated immediately.
They should have been disaffiliated just because they have Roger Roots.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too. But no, I mean, you can't, one of the, they claim that, their bylaws don't say they have to do that. It doesn't matter. When you sign up to be an affiliate of LP National, you agree to obey the bylaws of the Libertarian Party the National Libertarian Party. And guess what the bylaws say? You nominate a president and you put him on the ballot. You have to obey it. That's the bylaws. And,
do you think there's any chance that they do get disaffiliated?
No. I mean, we one of the failures of the convention was that we elected a witless and spineless LNC to follow Angela's lead down into the depths of despair. So no, it's not gonna happen unless we just see mass resignations of people who are replaced who actually know what they're doing.
We have 4 people, right?
I'd say 5 or 6. I'd say 6. People have switched.
Really?
People changed. Oh yeah. At least 6.
Who are the 6?
I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, it's probably better.
Funny. I really think that I think we're going to see a major internal realignment within the Mises Caucus, because there are people who are realizing that they were sold a bag of goods, and there are people who are realizing that strategy just doesn't work, and there are people who wait, we don't want to be a GOP caucus. This isn't what we signed up for. So it's going to be really interesting to watch what happens internally in the caucus, as well as what happens within the party. They're going to, they want to maintain control of the party. They're going to do their damnedest to do it and try to keep people out. Our job is going to be to make sure that they can't do that, because guess what? The party belongs to those who show up. Well, in theory. I also think that in Michigan,
unless Karen Ann doesn't let them vote,
right? Exactly. Well, yeah, unless she wasn't one of people to vote, unless she wants to keep her spot enough that she, purges people. Yeah. So I really think that. Well, and I think Michigan is gonna. I think that Michigan is going to. I'm trying to think of how to say this. I think they're going to get their asses kicked in Michigan in a way that makes them realize.
I have a fun announcement for that too, because I joined the Libertarian Party in Michigan.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Are you already moved up there?
I moved up there.
All
I'll be
right.
up there for a couple of years probably.
You have been drafted to take over the party from the yeah, that's funny. That's really funny that you're up there now.
Yeah, I figured I wasn't going to join in Florida. I was going to keep, because I changed my registration in 2022 when I was pissed about Reno, but the chance to actually have a state party that's actually anti-Mises and not the LPF was
show up to that convention in June.
Oh, I'll be there. July.
Show up. Bring all your friends. Bring your baby mama. Bring everybody.
I'll be there.
We need to. Yeah. I think they're going to. I think that the LNC is going to learn a hard lesson on that one, and yeah, it'll be interesting, because I think they've put out feelers about. People again have been putting out feelers about trying to settle that case, and that tells me that they're scared of how it's going to go. Because they see the writing on the wall, especially with the dunk that the judge did on the JC, because overturning the will of the delegates' vote is not something the JC can do. And not only did they do that for the delegates to national, they did that to people elected to Chatternon's board, the Mises Caucus board, because he's not letting them sit. So I think they're going to have a hard lesson taught to them, a needed lesson, because they need to learn the lessons. Whoever shows up owns the party, and they're not letting people who showed up own the party. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun few months, because they're backpedaling on a lot of things. I mean, we've seen the rats fleeing the sinking ship. Their aura has gone. Their swagger is dead. So they don't have a presidential candidate to rally anybody. Not that they did this time, but they're not going to have a presidential candidate to rally people around in 2026. So it'll be interesting. The advantage that they had going into 2020 or 2022 is what the other side will have going into 2026. So we just have to take advantage of it.
You are not wrong there.
So Grand Rapids, here we come. I had so much fun. I had so much fun in DC.
I'll be at Grand Rapids for sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Nice. That'll be fun. We'll have to. Yeah. Well, you know what we need? We need to have fuck shit up T-shirts. That's what we need to have made. That'll be good. Anyway, yeah. I'm trying to think of other things. Let's see here, man. There's just been such a wild past couple of weeks after the fallout from it, the whole MAGA backlash to Chase, the whole Chase doing some really great interviews. Yeah, it's wild. It's been a really wild. I mean, it's been a wild 2 years. Let's be honest. There's yeah. I mean, if you're still honestly at this point, if you're still believing that the Mises Caucus has some grand strategy or something new, you're kind of.
If they had a grand strategy,
lost cause,
would still be there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he just completely left. I mean, it's funny. He blamed his wife. And listen, I blame my wife on, I don't really want to go out to hang out with these guys. So I'm just saying my wife doesn't feel well. I need to take care of the kids. So I've done that. But to say, to blame his wife for bouncing out of the party and the caucus.
But I mean, he talked about in that statement about how they're hemorrhaging money, basically.
Yeah.
The money is just, he was full time for a while. I think they were paying him like $50,000 or $60,000 a year just through caucus funds. And they're not even, the caucus isn't even making anywhere close to that, I don't think, anymore. Definitely can't.
Yeah. I mean, why would anybody, I mean, I guess people, donate because there's podcasts or something. I don't get the whole podcast culture. I don't even listen to podcasts. I have in the past. I just don't even listen to them anymore. So
I end up listening to the Dave Smith and Tom Woods because I need to cover stuff for Fakertarians. But other than that,
this is how bad it is over the past since the CLC started. I've done more podcasts that I've listened to, and it's not even close. I probably listened to 5 podcasts the entire time.
No, I know.
Anyways,
whenever one of these people is on another podcast, Angela, go.
Nope, we lost him. It's the Jonathan Casey show, guys. It's the Jonathan Casey Archie Manning. There we go. Oh, there he is.
Okay, John is back. Let me put him back. Hold on, John. Let me get you up here again. There we go.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know what happened there. I just saw the screen flash before my eyes for a second.
Right.
Oh yeah. So what I was trying to say before I was rudely interrupted by whatever's going on the internet was that whenever I see Angela going on a new podcast, I'm like, oh God, I have to listen to this. Because it's just...
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't stand listening to her. Oh my God. When I prepared for the national divorce debate at the Soho Forum, I went back and listened to a lot of the old debates because I wanted to know the format. I wanted to know kind of what the debates was looking like, kind of prepare myself. One of the debates I listened to was her and Ilya Soman debate vaccine mandates. My God, she's the worst debater in the world. All she did was do anecdotal evidence about how vaccines were bad. Not much about vaccine mandates at all. She just talked about how vaccines can harm people, therefore we shouldn't mandate them. It's that's the dumbest argument in the world. We shouldn't
that's not about
we shouldn't mandate things. Right?
Well, you see, the cure for cancer could be very harmful, so we shouldn't, use it.
Yeah, it was so painful to listen.
Do you know the whole controversy behind that debate?
Where she told people to vote one way, to vote people to rig the vote? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know,
she won that debate by a handful of votes. It's only because people did what she said and rigged it for her.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, this debate she did, I think it was a couple of years ago at the Soho Forum, the way it works is the way you win is by changing people's position from what their position was originally.
Right, so everybody at the beginning votes.
Exactly. They take a poll at the start saying, okay, who are you siding with, or do you not have a position? And then they take one at the end, and then they compare the percentages. Angela told people on her Substack or blog or whatever the hell it was to say they were undecided at first, and then on the ballot after debate to say that they sided with her. So she rigged a debate that I don't believe you actually win anything.
You win a Tootsie Roll.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
Tootsie
big.
Roll. There you go. That was big. No, well, it's funny. Okay, so now that I'm just spilling the beans, let's talk about my debate. I later found out, at least I'm 99% sure I found out. So we'll do a little bit of gossiping here.
Okay, let's do it.
That's what we're about. So it was the national divorce debate, and it was supposed to be a trap for me, which I knew it was kind of new this from the beginning. It was supposed to be a trap for me going to this national divorce debate, right? And I knew that Heiss was the one who kind of nudged me being the opponent, and because of some things that he had said, then their guy ended up dropping out like a week before the thing, and then I ended up winning this. It was like one of the largest margins of victory in Soho Forum debate history, which I think was kind of funny that I ended up springing the trap on them, because the guy I ended up debating, he was really just kind of like, I don't know, he kind of had like a Confederate view of national divorce, like a Confederacy view of national divorce, which is pretty easy to debunk.
Yeah.
I ended up later debated the actual guy, Ryan McMacken, who was my original debate opponent. I debated him earlier this year, but it wasn't a polled debate or anything.
Yeah. So you didn't get a Tootsie Roll for that one?
No, I didn't get a Tootsie Roll for that. It was still fun though.
Bummer.
Exactly. But yeah, it was it's interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see where the Mises Caucus goes and what it does. I think they're going to have to do some pretty serious soul searching. And the problem is they've attracted so many hateful people. I don't think that they can really change because I think what's happened is that they have tuned their message to these hateful people to bring them in. And so you can't turning that on it. Yes, you could bring me in there because I know how to do messaging. I've done messaging for many organizations. And I could come in there and fix that shit really easily, but it'd be because I would use the contradiction of Mises Caucus branding to contrast with the message. So I'd be super woke with it, is what they would call it, and that would fix their messaging. That's how they could fix their messaging. If they could easily flip this on its head and turn things around, but they would lose all those hateful people that they rely on to build their movement. And so that would be a really painful thing for them to do. So they won't actually take that step, even though in the long run, they would be a lot better off for it. But they're not going to do it. That's not who they are. That's not who they will ever be. So
they're not about radical libertarianism, and they never have been.
Right.
I thought they were at one point.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's the thing that they've done that, I don't like calling a lot of organizations cults, but there are a lot of organizations that have cult-like tendencies. And one of their tendencies is, one of the reasons, when you get an email from a Nigerian prince, a lot of times it's got like really bad spelling, really bad English. And you're like, who would believe this? That is intentional. That bad spelling and that bad grammar is intentional because they know that the people smart enough, there's people smart enough to catch the scam and realize it's a scam will see that and not respond to it. But the people that are dumb enough to believe what's being said won't notice the grammar mistakes and will respond to it thinking it's real. So it is automatic. It is filtering out the people. It is filtering out those people who are smart enough that you're not going to get them anyways. That's what the Mises Caucus does. Is they filter out all the people who would question their behavior, who would question what they're doing right at the beginning, and so they're left with all the people, the yes people, all the yes men, all the people who are just saying yes, I believe in the mission. Tell me what to do. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to vote the way you tell me to. And so that's really how they've developed the system. Now, it works when you have a lot of people that are young and new and excited and ready to go. But when you've been in control for a while, and when people have seen the results of your actions and see that it's really you just want to be a GOP caucus, it's going to be a little bit harder of a sell. So it's going to be, I don't know. I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 times. It's going to be very fun to see what happens next, because I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they have the ability to pull back from it. They've the Ron Paul version of the party is not turning out to what they think it would be at all.
It's wild too how many people that are really, really anti-Mises Caucus now, like myself included, were actually part of the Mises Caucus at some point. It's like, it's like half of the caucus has left and hates it now. It'd be like if like Joe Bishop henchmen joined the Mises Caucus. Like that'd be like the opposite of this.
Right. Yeah, people who are smart enough to see through the bullshit left. And that was intentional. They don't want people who are smart enough to see through the bullshit, because they're the people that are going to question the narrative, that are going to question the direction, that are going to make things harder to go in the way that Heist or whoever's in charge wants it to go. And it's really interesting to see how fast people who left after Reno are coming back. They are really coming back to jump on the Chase campaign. Chase campaign, I've talked to several people on their campaign. I know all the people on their campaign, but I've talked to several of them talking about how they're just being inundated with volunteers coming in, get ready to do the work. People are really, excited and rejuvenated to get the candidate, to get a candidate that speaks for them. And that
he's actually a good candidate.
Right. He's a great candidate. Chase is a really good speaker. He knows what he's talking about. It's interesting. It's also, it's really, we talk about cult-like behaviors. What about this cult-like behavior of digging up Chase's, I'm not a Ron Paul Libertarian or whatever it is. And it's like, somebody said to me, you're no Ron Paul. And I'm like, I don't surround myself with racists. So of course, I'm glad I'm not a Ron Paul. Because listen, racist or fascist apologists. Because you look at all the people that Ron Paul has surrounded himself with, and it's a bunch of racists and a bunch of people who make excuses for tyrannical regimes. And it's like, good grief, what are you doing? Like, there's a lot of what Ron Paul did brought me into the libertarian space. I discovered him and Milton Friedman and Mises all around the same time and really dug into it. And Ron Paul was a great voice in 2012, calling out the wars, all that stuff. And, that was it's really sad to see, you could kind of excuse the newsletters back in the 90s as well. It's kind of, you don't really know if it was him. He probably didn't have anything to do with it. But then you see the people that he surrounds himself with and you're like, man, that sucks. You hate to see that. Even now that I don't really look up to him as a hero anymore, there was a time I did, and it still hurts. It still hurts to see that. Okay, I fell for that. That was still there. And when I admired Ron Paul, all that racist that he surrounded himself with, all the the fascists that apologists that he surrounded himself with were there then too, and you just didn't see it. And so you always, it makes you cautious about who you believe now, who you look at now, and you're like, okay, who do I hold up?
Yeah, I'm scared to endorse people now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. So.
And I do have to say, I was brought to libertarianism through Ron Paul. And then I had no idea about the racism because I didn't really look into his past. And then it was just like, oh, all right.
Yeah. I feel like with the Mises, this happens with the Mises caucus too. I remember when the Ron Paul newsletters came up during, especially the 2012 presidential campaign, but I think it was there a little bit during the 2008 campaign. There was just this groupthink of, the line was just, no, he didn't do those, or
he didn't know about
they weren't that bad, or he didn't know about them. And you just kind of automatically took
the newsletters,
that as gospel.
You're going to finish. Sorry, you're going to continue?
No, go on.
People talk about the newsletters of the 90s as being problematic with Ron Paul. The real newsletters that I have a problem with Ron Paul were the newsletters where he bragged about stopping gay marriage, or where he stopped about making abortions, increasing abortion punishments, or things like that. Those are the things that libertarians should have a real problem with. This guy, talks about being a libertarian, Mr. Libertarian himself to some people, talks about, making gay marriage, trying to make gay marriage illegal. Come on, good grief! This guy is a conservatarian. He's not a libertarian. Yeah. Or the border. He talks about securing the border and bullshit like that. And he's not Mr. Libertarian. Sorry.
He was a Republican with libertarian tendencies, and for a Republican, especially during that era, he was good. If you look at it in the overall political landscape, but he's not the be-all, end-all of libertarianism by any means. And the problem comes when people just think libertarianism means Ron Paul.
Well, it's any cult. It's any cult of personality, right? And Ron Paul is a cult of personality, and so you have people just kind of hang on to his every word and believe, oh, this is the guy that defines, my ideology. And I'm sorry, if your ideology is defined by one guy, you're not a libertarian. You're Ron Paulitarian. You're a Ron Paulian. Right, or you're a Rothbardian, or you're a Hoppian, right? That's what you are. You're not a libertarian. Libertarianism is say that again.
I said Mussolini. That was basically his whole idea.
Exactly. Right. Right, exactly. So, yeah. So again, libertarianism is a broad spectrum of thought, and it's not buried in one individual by a long shot.
Exactly. So, do we have anything else that we've missed that we want to touch on? I'm happy to keep talking, but I'm just trying to think of whether we have anything else. We talked about the stalling tactics. Did you run into Rechtenwald or Dave or anything like that? Did they say hello?
Dave was behind the table. I shook his hand. You know, I don't care to talk to him that much. I said hi.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't run into Rechtenwald at all. I'm trying. Oh, one of my favorite moments. Yeah. So, you saw the picture of me and Michael Heiss up on stage, right?
I did.
Okay, I got to tell this story. This is one of my favorite moments. I forgot about this until now. So we're sitting. I'm sitting out there. I'm actually fairly close to the stage, and I'm talking with some people from my floor team, talking about what's going on. This is right before the chairs debate, and they announce on the speaker, Michael Heiss is going to be vetting the questions for the chair candidates. What? I'm like, why? Why does he get to vet them? Like, what is this about? I'm like, okay, I'll walk up on stage and say that I'm there to do the same damn thing. So I walk up on stage, and the way I play it is I look. Angela's off kind of on one side of the corner, and you've got all these people that I know. You got Nikayla, you got Ken Molman, you've got Michael, Mark Rutherford there. These three guys all three of them I know and have talked to multiple times, right? And so I walk up to them and said, hey, you guys with me vetting the questions as well? And they're like, yeah, of course, that'll be fine. So at that point, they're not going to kick me out now. Like, they're going to let Heiss do it, but they're going to kick me out. So Michael Heiss is kind of off to the side, and he doesn't know what's going on. So he walks up and he probably's like, what is he doing here? And then they say, yeah, so me and this other guy, Sam, I forgot his last name, Sam from Indiana.
Goldstein?
Goldstein. And you're gonna vet the questions with them, Michael. He's like, wait, so you guys are just gonna overvote me? We're like, no, we'll just make it a veto thing. You can veto anything you want. We'll veto what we want. You veto what you want. It's like, okay, fine. So we sit down and we start going through the questions, and it was really funny is he vetoed anything that was like almost anything that was over like the past 2 years or about like the party's done the worst ever, the party's revenues wheeled down, et cetera, et cetera. He nixed all of those questions. Which I thought was
what's that Heiss quote? By our fruits, you'll know us.
Yeah, he didn't want anything.
Didn't seem to like the fruits very much.
Yeah, no, he didn't want to talk about the fruits. I think he did allow one question that was along the lines of, "Are we better off 2 years today than we were 2 years ago?" He allowed that question, but no question that had any kind of leading statement in it that was like, "Yeah, revenue is down to record lows. What do you have to say for yourself?" I thought that was funny, but that was a fun moment because I just invited myself up on stage. Later though, I think they had a big burly guy as a bouncer, and I think he was up there by the stage specifically to make sure that that didn't happen again. Because I don't think they expected me to just jump up on stage, but they did have a big burly guy up near the stage after that, and I thought that was kind of funny because I just wandered right up on stage and just made myself at home.
That's great.
That's awesome. Heiss has a habit of doing that exact kind of thing, though. Like,
what were they going to do? The worst they're going to do is kick me off the stage. Okay,
at the very outset of all of this BS, when LPNH started going off the rails, Heiss was on those original Zoom calls.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
He had no business being on the calls because he wasn't a member of LPNH. Yeah. He wasn't a member of the LNC. So why the fuck is he on the call? Because he's Heiss.
Yeah.
That's why.
No, he's inserting himself into anything he can. I mean, that's, is what it is.
Not anymore.
So, not anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm sure his cronies will attest to him. It's kind of funny how they talk about, they have a really they have a lot of interesting decisions to make. Our decisions are easy. We just have to support the Chase campaign and bring people in and say, here you go, stick around till 26. Like, that's all we got to do. It's gonna be really interesting what what they try to galvanize people with. I mean, maybe they try to re-galvanize people with, oh, the Chase campaign is super woke. We need to kick these people out again, all over again. And it's like, really, that's
what they have to do.
That's what they're going to have to do. But I do not think that's going to work again. Like they failed to do it the first time. Why would they be successful?
Yeah, people already fell for it. I feel like even a lot of the people who really don't like Chase are just like, oh, fuck this.
Yeah.
Not a waste of my time. Like I saw Reed Coverdale supporting Donald Trump, obviously Kaufman supporting Donald Trump.
Oh, these people were always going to support Trump. Like the Libertarian Party did not, by nominating Chase Oliver. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we lost a lot of voters. No, the Libertarian Party didn't lose a single voter when Chase Oliver was nominated. They were going to vote for Trump anyways. That's just a fact. We all know it. No one was going to vote for Trump.
That reminds me of the tweet from Justin O'Donnell the other day. I don't know if you saw it. It was
I saw a few of them.
I can't believe that the LP under Mises Caucus leadership has failed to clear the incredibly low hurdle of please don't prove Fakertarians right.
Yes, I did see that. That's great.
I was happy with that one.
I mean, one thing you have to give Justin is he's fair. Like, he may be a jerk, but he is fair.
Justin does his own thing.
He does his own thing, and he gives me some whiplash, because sometimes I'm like, wow, that's a great tweet, and then the next one's like, oh, what are you doing? Hey, he's working to get ballot access for Chase in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah, I love seeing that. Kudos to him for doing so.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we want to touch on, or do we want to get wrapping up?
I can't think of anything. I'm sure I'll think of something in about 10 minutes after we hang up. But we've been going 2 hours and 10 minutes, so.
Yeah, we did good.
We can talk after the call for a little bit if there's anything else you want to talk about.
Oh, the secret. Yes, we'll super secret plans to. Do something.
Exactly. That we can't let Karen Ann know about.
Yes.
Is that the fake and gay plan?
Yeah.
Yes, super fake, super gay.
Yes, okay.
We're turning the Libertarian Party gay.
Yes. Make the LP gay again.
All right. Well, guess we'll wrap up then. I mean, thanks, Jonathan, for being here.
Thanks for having me. I wanted to loose and go and tell some stories and get it on the record and all that fun stuff.
Do you have anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
Not particularly. If you want to fight to take the party back, join the CLC. That's where I think it's going to be. You know, it's a great community of people trying to, you know what they're trying to do. I don't need to tell you.